Alright, I gotta smile for a second here because whether it looks like it on camera or not, this thing is like really badass. It needs some work. Really where it needs help is in the stabilization of the front. But I think everything else is definitely strong enough to lift like probably safely 200 pounds. I don't know if I'd really push it more than that, but this thing's really designed to pick up rounds of wood, and most of the time I don't expect those to be over 100 pounds. So 200 pounds kind of seems like the sweet spot. So, I mean, it's a little stiff, but it's not stiff to the point where you can't move it with one hand. Let me take this out of free spool. So the idea is I'm going to have a remote on my collar, and if I want to go to a log over here, I'll just come over to the winch, free spool it, swing it over to the log. I do need to weld together a pair of log tongs, but that's no problem. I see one potential issue here. If I slack up on this, it becomes unwrapped around this wraparound pulley, so I'll have to either make sure I maintain tension on the cable at all times, or use some type of eye hook to make sure that cable always stays centered on that, but I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, I can just come off to the side of the trailer, set the logs or the tongs that I need to make on the trailer, have the winch it up, and then I can come over here. You know, I almost like the idea of keeping this bar to help control the main boom. I don't know. Still undecided whether I want to cut that or not, but you know, you pick it up and you just swing it down, you drop it down in the front, or I could bring it and drop it in the rear. So Jonathan, I have to thank you for the correction to your design on the hinge or the articulation mechanism, because this seems like it's going to work out really well. And let me tell you, this thing is really strong. It's a lot stronger than I thought. I figured it was going to be pretty strong, but it's definitely strong. Again, where I see the issue is in the hitch, or well, this front section. It really needs like a piece of 2-inch square tubing welded along here, and then stabilizers on either end, or jacks rather, which I have one jack, so I'm thinking about adding that, but I'm kind of curious if I do it the width of the trailer, is that going to be enough?
So it was working reasonably well. First things first, I'm gonna have to redesign this because these pivot points are way too far out. They should be here, because when I lift up on this, it kind of spreads the load as opposed to forcing those dogs to dig into the log. I mean, it works kinda, not the best, but the more pressing issue is actually this upper pulley. Okay, so the second major issue we're having is this upper pulley seized, and I think I know why. I think I know how to correct it. So there's a set screw here and a set screw here, and what that does is it locks the 1-inch shaft to pivot with the jib extension. So it, it pivots inside of this part where the grease fitting is, which is what I wanted. But I think what's happened is the winch line has been putting a lot of pressure down on this pulley, and those set screws have probably reaffixed themselves, at a lower point, therefore putting a tremendous amount of friction between this pulley and that point right there. So what I need to do, I need to loosen up the set screw here, take a sledgehammer, try and hit this shaft back up. I'm gonna have to put a little bit of weld right here to make sure that this doesn't collapse down and this pulley can just spin freely. So we got to correct that right now. Alright, so I'm not exactly sure what happened. There's an open hole in here, and I'm wondering if a piece of debris or a piece of metal got in there. And I found this gash. Let's see if you can see this. Try and focus. So you can kind of see that gash right there. So I'm not 100% sure what happened. I don't know if there was just an awkward load on this, but that gash just doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't make sense, aside from a piece of metal debris getting in there and just jamming this thing up. So I also never really lubed this up with grease, so what I'm thinking about doing, I think I'm going to weld this hole shut, and then I'm just going to lube this shaft up with grease. A little bit of figuring, but I think I got her sorted out. Sorry, lighting is not the best here, but I ended up putting a weld on here on this shaft onto this lower collar, and what that's going to do is it's going to make sure that this piece only hinges inside of this connection right here. And another thing I had to do, I had to add a washer at the bottom of this pulley. I think also another problem was I flared out this washer by hammering it down, and when that turned, because I flared that out by hand, it was uneven. It was kind of like wobbly. So I came back over to my Milwaukee bandsaw here, and I took a piece of 1-inch shaft collar, and I just cut a little washer and welded that onto the bottom of that pulley. And I greased the bejesus out of it, and lo and behold, she does spin. I'm getting grease everywhere. So let's give that a try. If that doesn't work, I'll have to probably put some type of bearing on there, but let's take this wood over to the firewood splitting station and get that squared away. Also, while I was doing that, Amazon man came and dropped off my other jack, so too cold to put that on, but we'll see if we can finish off the day here.